Okay, this video is, once again, I'm going to start simply. I'm going to try to keep it simple. Human beings are spiritual beings in a physical body. Our thought creates reality and we're all connected. One, we are spiritual beings in a physical body. Two, our thought creates reality. Three, we are all connected to other human beings. Now, I always start it that way because that is the basics of humanity and what we are and what we are meant to do and what we are here for. But our whole reality is not like that because this world has been taken over a long time ago. So human beings, all of us, are now not operating where we create reality consciously with our own thinking or even unconsciously. Now, I've tried to explain this before and it is very difficult. We're all taken over, including myself, okay? We have been infected by what some people call archon parasites. Now, this is a virus. It is a mind virus. It was brought here a long, long, long time ago by the beings that control this world. They also are infected by the virus. This is a mental virus, purely mental, and we are spiritual beings. Okay? Spiritual beings, our thought is supposed to create reality, and it does, and we're all connected to the other human beings, not to things that are not human, only to other human beings. Now, how many human beings there are left on this planet is debatable. Okay, I know they say we have 7 billion people or more. All human beings are not the same. All human beings look the same, but they are not the same. Because some are more infected than others by the virus. So that means that those that are infected by the virus, which is basically what controls this world, because the beings that control this world, whether you want to take that to be the humans that control the world in your top positions, by your top organisations, by top everything that you know controls the world, right? That you physically know controls the world. Or whether you want to say, well, yes, that also might be controlled by other beings, gods, you could say, that came to the world a long time ago. But when they came, although they appeared to be gods and they have vast technology and vast lifespans and huge and were here long before humans, evidently. So that means that humans are a young race, a very young race, whereas they are a very old race. So they have the upper hand in the sense that they have more experience, more knowledge, more advancement in technology, right? But they are infected with a virus. The virus is a mental virus. There you go. That has infected them and is trying to stop me from making the video now, as you can see. This is because the beings, the gods, are infected with the virus too. As superior as they are, and as advanced as they are, and as brilliant as they are, and as genius as they are at controlling and directing the human race, they are infected with the virus. And the virus makes them infect us. We are spiritual beings who are now infected with a parasitic mind virus, which controls our thinking and controls our mood and keeps us at a low level all the time. They, the beings that control even the top humans, operate this way. They are in a low negative vibrational state, shall we say. That means that they are always creating negativity, anger, hate, jealousy, all the negative emotions and feelings. They do not want humans to be at a high, happy vibrational level, because if they do get that way, they create good stuff, okay? Because humans create reality with their thinking. The beings that control the world, the gods that control the world, know this, but they have to manipulate human thinking in order to create the negative realm that they prefer, because they are negative beings. I say that they have brought I call it a virus. It's an Archon virus. I say Archon because this is what I have learned. This is what I've been told. But essentially, it's a negative mindset. It is not a high vibrational, happy mindset. It is an angry, controlling, negative, competitive, fighting environment, way of thinking, and they create that environment on this earth, which is why human beings are competitive, angry, egotistical. And it's why the way we think and the way we live is. We're not meant to be that way, but that's how we all are. That's how I have been all my life too. I've always been envious of other people and think, oh, I'm not good enough and this and that. Now, this is how they want you to think, because that keeps you unhappy. Whereas if you knew what you were and accepted what you were and knew you were combined with other human beings, that your thought creates reality and that you're all connected to other human beings, and that all this physical domain that we live in is all a fake, set up by the god Archon that rules this world. I use these terms only because I can't think of another term. Look, there probably is a correct term, right? I say it's a god, okay? Look, you can use whatever term you want. In this actual world, the term would probably have to be a Satan or a Lucifer type thing, right? Okay, a devil, the main adversary, you could say, of the opposing force, which is positive, which, that is a negative force. It's a negative force. It's a negative force, but I want to emphasize this. It's not a total negative force. It's a duality world. It's a positive and negative force. It uses both in this world against humans, with the aim mainly, though, of keeping it at a negative low level, because that is the way that you can only control. You can't control your masses if they're at a creative high level, when they know that they are the real creators, and that they're all connected. Then the god, basically would move along, shall we say, because he no longer has his domain. This is how it works. It's complicated, it's bizarre, it's unbelievable, and the amount of control and domination that the God entity has over this actual earth reality that we call reality, even though it's all fake, because it's all set up and it is all fake and it is totally controlled and totally manipulated. You know, there is none of this, you see, we still create, but this is the complicated thing. This is what makes it very difficult for me to get across. See, we are still the creators, but we don't know we're creating and we don't know what we're creating, and we don't realise that we are mind controlled by the parasites. So we are creating a negative reality that is our destruction, because the end game, shall we say, and they talk about the end game, really is to get rid of humans off this domain. That's how I see it, because that is what has been happening. So, and this is because, I think, because humans were meant to be realizing these things at this time, and even before this time, you know, because even I've only just realized it, and it's so late. You know, a lifetime of living in a total deception. And it is a duality world, so the God does operate in good and evil, right and wrong. So it's not all negative, but the good is used to create the bad, because you have to have the duality. That's the funny thing. It's very hard to explain, but if you just had all bad or all good, there actually probably would be less problems. It's the duality that creates the confusion and is used for the trickery and the deception. It is a fantasy world we live in. Everything that we think is true is not, and everything that we think is false is probably true. I see it like this, right? And I've said it before. If you're watching something on your computer or on your TV, what you think is the truth or what you think is real is not. That is part of the deception. Even if it's actually happening, it's been set up, okay? It's not real. It's not the truth. We're talking about truth here, not even reality, because there is no reality in this world. It's all a fake setup by the God, okay? But there is a truth. But human beings are meant to be able to find the truth. And they are meant to be able at this time, or in these period of time. I should have woken up before I did, right? And I was forced to wake up, so I'm not giving myself any credit. But human beings were supposed to be waking up. But of course, that means there's going to be even more deception thrown at them, more diversions, more trickery, because the God naturally knows this, because he can read your thoughts. He has mind parasites. These people, they're not people really, but they're not people, they're not humans, but I can't help but use that term because that's all I know. But now I know different. Okay. Try to keep on track. It's so complicated that even I lose my train of thought, and there's so much to it, and I'm trying to put so much into a small video. It makes it hard. You know, you really have to know it for a fair time and put it all together and actually see it too. That's another thing too. We're not seeing it. Once you see it, then you will see more and more. That's what waking up is about. We were meant to start seeing the deception, seeing through the falseness of this world and how we have been tricked. Now, that doesn't mean that a lot of people are going to realise that they're the creators. That probably is the hardest thing. And to know that you are the creators, but you can't create because you're not connected to your other human beings, like myself. Like, I know this to be true, but I can't create at any full capacity because I'm not connected to the other human beings. My mind is taken over by the archon parasites. By that I mean that I'm bombarded with negativity daily. From the minute you get up till the minute you go to sleep, and even while you're asleep, they can come into your subconscious and your dreams, into your mind, and put thoughts in there. Look, all I can say is this. This is how bizarre and how far it's gone, and you won't believe me, I know, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every time you get a really negative thought, every time you think something bad about someone else, every time you are filled with resentment, jealousy, hate, anger, fear, particularly fear too, all of these emotions, they are not your real emotions. They are archon infestation. They are thoughts put into your mind. When you start to wake up, this is what humans were supposed to be waking up and realizing that their thoughts are not all their own. This is unbelievable, but this is because we have allowed this to happen. And that's not our fault either, because we have been tricked. We've been deceived. We've all done it. I've done it all my life. I've wrecked my whole life with it. This is because you believe the bad things that happen to you, believe that people are bad, you believe that everything is what it appears to be, and so you react that way. If someone says something mean to you, you react with anger and antagonism. If someone's got a lot more than you, you react with jealousy, because our system has been created to make us feel inferior, that we must have more of the goodies, that everyone else has got more. This is all part of it. But what I am saying is, yes, this has taken a long time. So this is the problem, is that now if I'm saying this, it sounds ridiculous, but this has taken place over a long, long period of time. See, every time we let something happen, every time we don't say no to something that's negative, that we should know is negative, because this is what the waking up is, knowing that the thoughts that you have that are negative against your fellow human beings are not your own, and that they're not acceptable anyway. Of course, in this world today, the deception is so great that we are actually, even good is used, and even good thinking is used. Look, it is a mass mind control. It is so massive that unless you actually wake up and actually start to see it and are able to discern it, you will be part of your own destruction and humanity's destruction, and most of us are. And this is the real problem. You actually have to question everything. If someone says to you, oh, that's freedom for you to allow something that you think might be a bit iffy, or you should allow it because that's freedom, and then you think, oh, if I question it or go against it, that means I'm restricting someone else's freedom. You see, this is the deception. This is how it works. You can't win in a way. The God that controls all this is a mastermind genius. He might be infected in the sense that he's got the duality going and the confusion and the negativity. That's why I say that, because the God itself has, now it's allowed, because humans are supposed to be discerning enough and awake enough and aware enough, because that's all human beings really are, evidently. We really are only this awareness, and then to know everything. We should know everything. This is the funny thing. We should actually know everything, and yet we know nothing. And what we do know is false. This is the tragedy of it. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, people. But this was what waking up. This was supposed to be a period of time where humans was supposed to start seeing this and realizing that they should just automatically know things and should just automatically be able to see the truth and to be able to pick it, not to be mind controlled by what they're told around them, by the media, by the laws, by the rules, by the system, by this whole setup. They should know if something is good or bad, but not in a judgmental way, in just the way that what is correct for their survival and for their advancement. You see what I'm trying to say? See, this is the deception in the world, and I've seen this now. It's like, I don't want to say myself, hey, that certain things are good or bad. But if I let them go and say, oh, it's freedom to let people be as they want and as they choose. Now, I could use examples of this, but there again, it puts you in hot water. It puts you in a position where people will say to you, oh, you're being prejudiced. But it's not about prejudice. It's about what is the best for those people and the best for their survival and for the best for their spiritual development, so that they can be what they're meant to be. all this other stuff is deception. Even the body is a deception. This obsession that we have with our body even is a deception, you know? Because we're spiritual beings. We create reality with our thinking and we're all connected. So the body also is used against us when we worry about, like we all do, what we look like, what we are. We think our body defines us. We think whether we're male or female or something else these days. And that's also a deception too. It's where then we become obsessed with the body, and that takes us further into this deceptive world, away from knowing that we're spiritual beings and that we create reality and we're all connected and that we can create anything. We should be able to have whatever we want. And instead we've got nothing because we don't know this, for one thing. And even if we do know it, we still can't get it to function properly because we are, well, like myself, right? Okay, I'll take it personal. If you do become aware of it, you will have the actual world, the matrix, the control system come right down on you to stop you from creating and to stop you from passing it on to others, in the sense that, as I said before, we're spiritual beings in a physical body. Our thought creates reality, but we're also all connected. So that means that I should be able to pass these thoughts on without even using this device. Well, see, this device is the matrix. Technology is the matrix. Technology is the control system. Okay? Whereas that is by the God that controls everything. He operates through technology and we accept technology. We still have a choice. You see, this is the thing is, as spiritual beings, and this is what I've discovered, is that we have allowed all this. It's not been our fault because we've been so deceived. So, of course, we don't see any harm in it. The same way that when the God came here and took over, shall we say, we obviously did not see it as an invasion. We did not see it as a takeover. We did not know that our spiritual assets would be taken from us. We did not know that our abilities would be taken from us. We did not know that we would end up working for the God and that we would be creating only for him and only creating what he wants. I say he because it's a masculine present from what I can gather, okay? And that's another thing that we have always we often see a lot of our gods as masculine too. That's all part of it too. Everything is part of it. This is not like this is not like just saying, oh well, the God is there and he might put a thought into your head or might control certain things and control some people more than. No, it's not like that. It's a total thing. It operates through everything, on everything. It is massive, and this is because we have gradually allowed more of this infiltration, shall we say. It's a bit like this. Humans still have free will, even though that sounds a joke. As far as I'm concerned, we have none. But we do still have the choice, and we're still making the choices every day. Okay? Now, this means that, like, if something happens, right, like supposing there's something happens outside my door. So say there's something violent or negative that happens, which appears to be this world, that's right. I then have a choice how I react to that, okay? You see what I'm saying? So I can say, oh, well, now I'm going to set up a lot of security in my place. Now I'm going to be angry against certain people because they've caused the violence. Now I'm going to think a certain way. Automatically, I'm controlled. I'm no longer my free-thinking person that actually should know that it is a setup of the matrix, of the God that controls this matrix reality world that we live in. Now, this is very hard to deal with. It's very hard to accept because, but as some people are now accepting the reality that our world is not as concrete as what we thought, and not as so-called real as what we think. And it is made real because our thinking creates reality and brings a physical thing into being. This is a lot of power that is now being controlled and directed by something else. So human beings have given over all their power, all their abilities, and everything that they are over to this world, to this material matrix world. Okay, I'm trying to describe it the best way I can because it's hard. But we all know that we've given ourselves over to this material world. So, but what I'm saying is, if you're a spiritual being and you create reality, there is reality that you create, but it is created by your thinking. So it's a spiritual thing, you see. Can you get that? I don't know whether it's hard for me to even get at times, but you know what I'm saying? And we're all connected. So we're creating our what we are sending to other human beings, not only by our negative thinking, but also via our feeling, because it's a combination, I think, of the feeling and the thinking that creates the reality. And this is what's been deprived from us, and which we now have no control over, because for one, we've only got our conscious mind that we're even aware of, and so our subconscious mind is also creating this reality. And right this very moment, I would not know what my subconscious is really creating or thinking. I know what I'm consciously thinking, and even that is taken over by the matrix, because I am bombarded by the negativity around me. It's very hard, as I've said before, if you're in a war zone, and we literally are, physically and mentally. For most of it is more mental. For some of us, like myself, it is physical and mental bombardment 24/7, okay? So that means that even your conscious mind is being negatively influenced by the environment. So how do you then create a positive reality? Do you see what I'm trying to say to you? Because if you don't have the good feeling and the positive thinking, and you can't even think straight, how can you create a positive reality? You see, we've given that over. We should be free where we know this, and at least, even if we don't know things, see, even if we were living in a world where we didn't even know this, if we were all happy, we would just automatically be creating a good reality anyway. You know, we would not be at the low vibrational negative level to where we would be creating a bad reality. And this is why the dark God, and I say dark God because his duality, he has some good and some bad, but that is all used as part of the thing. And as humans, we're supposed to be able to discern, and he knows this, but he also has it all set up so that it is like you have to be a master chess player to figure it out, and to just be able to think clearly enough to discern. And like I was saying, even at a simple level, if something happens to you, how you react to it is still your own choice. But it is very hard for you to react positively if it's a negative thing. And even if, like myself, you're aware that it's a setup and it's a negative thing, if it's right in front of you and it's blasting you, it is extremely hard for you to turn the other cheek and say, hey, I'm going to be in a happy mood and a happy vibration, and I'm going to think positive. It's almost impossible. You see this, and this is how it's got, because we have allowed this, because we still have free choice, because humans actually were given total power. Now we have none. Originally, I think we were given total power. We created with our thinking. We were free, and we had free will. But if you decide whether it's whether it's through manipulation, and most of it is, we've all been totally manipulated, because if they can create fear, then you will go along and think that you're weak and that you have no power, so you will go for the protection of someone or something else, like the powers that be, shall we say. So we opt for this because we think we are powerless and we think that we need protection. And we do, because we've allowed this setup, this system, to take us over. We've allowed this world to become negative, and we've allowed violence and all this stuff, and we don't understand it. Because we don't understand it and we can't see how it's all been set up and how it's all to make us pitted one against the other. Human beings are masters of their own destruction, because the Matrix has set it up that way that they don't have to, because they cannot do that consciously themselves, and they also are not allowed to. Human beings have to be given free will. So they are geniuses, and the God has set it up so that we destroy ourselves and our fellow human beings. They pit, divide and conquer. They pit one against the other, whether it's in personal relationships or right through to country against country. It's all a big construct of, even society itself is a construct of this matrix and this world setup. The society, the rules, the regulations, the good, the bad. Some people are bad, we have to put them in jail, we have to do this. All this is a setup. All this is to control humanity. And also, it controls our emotions. So that creates negativity, and our thought creates reality. So our negative thinking, our negative feelings create more negativity. Then they can bring in more physical negativity. Oh, it's a very complicated thing. It's hard to explain, but it's like I say, we still have the choice, but we no longer have our own mind to discern it, because we get these, because the mind parasites that I believe also are part of the God that rules. This is a negative thing. This is like a well, let's just say that if you worshipped the entity or the God more directly, that would be like the negative to the God that we think actually is part of our religions, even though that is really part of the matrix. It has to be, because everything is part of the matrix. Everything is part of the system. So that means that some people worship directly, much directly, to the actual entity. This would be the equivalent to like your Lucifer, your that type of thing, okay? Now, look, there is a correct name. Look, this is what some people worship in the actual religion, okay? But like even in Christianity or any of the religions, there's the good and the bad. Like there's God and then there's the opposing force. This is really not true. There's only the one force. There is no good God on this earth, or that controls this earth. It is all controlled by the satanic type God, shall we say. That's trying to put a name on it. It's not really, that's probably not really the correct name, because we think even of Satan even as a spiritual being that fell from grace, right? Or that was kicked out because he was too vain, which is like the world we live in, too disruptive, too negative, and too much wanting to control and take over. Okay, and this is the world that we live in. So as you can see, that the parasites of that have infected this world, because that is how we think. Okay, or at least most of us do anyway. Now, the yeah, the satanic type thing is that, but it really is a technological God entity, because the God swapped his his spirituality, the God traded or lost, whatever you want. I don't know what really happened, but he traded his spirituality for technology, right? And that's what he wants humans to do the same. Everything that we have now on this earth is a representation of the God that rules it. Every human being, the way they act now, is acting how he acts and how he thinks. Every negative, every the rise of the more narcissistic type of person in this world, and the authentic human beings are being phased out, and the technically minded, logical, more intellectual mind and way of thinking, and the money, the very much more into the physical. This is how we live. Think about it, because I'm sure you all know it's true. Now, this is the reality. I think I'll have to turn a light on because it's getting dark. So if you just excuse me for 1 second, I hope don't lose you. You've probably already drifted off anyway. Oh, sorry about that. It's, you know, I am no different to anyone else. I am now, see, even the physical body, you heard me grunt and groan there, getting up and down. This should be free from disease and all illness. All the true knowledge of how we look after our body is now lost from us. This is all these things are part of us giving up our power to create. Because, if we are physically in a body, but our mind creates the physical reality, we should have much more control even over our own body. But this is now controlled also by the matrix, the health, the way we deal with health, and the fact that our environment is infecting us. We are infected physically and mentally by the archon. I say the archontic mind parasites, but they're archons in the sense that is just a word, right? It probably really means the combination of the entities that control this world, okay? Now, they may be different types of beings. They probably have a ruler or a head, like a head, like a pharaoh, or like a president, or like, I'm sorry about the disruptions around. This is all interference. This is all the control by the matrix, because even animals, like I've got a dog, right? It's not my dog, but I got a dog. Now, even he is infected with the mind parasites, as we all are. I'm just infected a little bit less than some other people, okay? Or because I've started to wake up, and that's what's supposed to be happening. Everyone was supposed to be waking up. You still can't rid yourself of the parasites and of the thoughts that will come into your head, because we don't have control of that anymore, because we've given that over to this world, to the matrix, to the control system, and to the technology. We do it consciously now with technology, okay, which is even worse. Whereas before, we were just infected, I think, just by thoughts that are transmitted by the beings. Because the beings, I know this sounds ridiculous, but the beings are telepathic, and they can transfer their thoughts. Human beings are meant to be telepathic too. Human beings originally were telepathic 100%. They didn't need any technological thing to communicate with. This is what has been taken from us. Our thought creates reality. We're all connected, not by the internet, all connected mentally. We weren't supposed to need any technology. We didn't need anything. Human beings originally were given everything. They didn't need anything. Now we have so little of what we were given. We're barely surviving, and most of us are being wiped out. And the rest of us are totally mind controlled. Now, this is the sad thing. This is the real reality. This is the real reality, okay? Okay. So that means that we are not in control of anything at all. Originally, we were given everything. Yes, we could do things that would probably seem, I think, unbelievable to us now, and no one would believe me by saying it. But if your thought creates reality and we're all connected, and this is the basics of it, that's why I keep repeating it. This is the basics of human beings, and this is their basic ability. So if they can create reality with their thinking, surely that does imply a limitlessness. It means we were pretty much unlimited. And now we're the opposite. We're completely limited. And the opposite, we're in a total limited box to where we control nothing. We don't even control our world at all. It is infiltrated by the mind parasites and by the technology and via the setup, by the systems, by the false knowledge, the false information, the false world that we live in, where we think this is the real world, but it's all set up for us to create negative thinking, negative energy, to where we stay low and can never come into our full potential, to where we can create fully and be the beings that we really are and we're supposed to be. As time has went on, we've given more and more of this over. You know, as I've said before, at some point, obviously, early on, we interbred or were genetically changed to where we were limited, yes, more limited. Now, this was also a choice, because if a technological being comes down to Earth, shall we say, and you think it's a god because it's so much older than you, it's got technology that is like magic to you because you have not developed yours at this stage. It is, you know, millions of years old, millions and millions and millions and millions of years older than you, much older than that probably. And they have had that kind of lifespan, and they don't lose that. They keep learning from it. Whereas human beings on our span, we live for a limited time on this domain. And whether you believe that we come back or die or whatever doesn't matter. But if we do come back, clearly when we come back, right, we reincarnate, shall we say. We do not have any knowledge of any of our previous lives. Some people do. They're just people that are a little bit more advanced, but there's not many of those, and most people don't believe that anyway. But what I'm saying is that's the case. We don't learn from or gain any more information each time we come back. We start as a baby and start all over again. So we never get the chance to advance or to even get to know what we really are, which we are spiritual beings in a physical body. Our thought creates reality and we're all connected. If we lived like these beings do on this earth, just in one big long span, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we would eventually know this and we would come back into our own probably. We'd probably chuck all this other stuff away and realise the truth and we might even take back this domain. I don't know. But this does not happen. This is not because we have entered into these agreements, shall we say, or made the choices to limit ourselves. We haven't done it consciously because when I say we haven't done it consciously, we have done it consciously, but how can you be conscious and make a correct choice if you're given the wrong information and if you don't know the full picture? So we're always operating under deception. So even though we're conscious when we make a choice, and that's why no one can do anything about it, because as I've said before, put it this way, human beings have choice. If there was some like universal law, right, that human beings cannot be totally be made extinct, then there would be intervention, okay, right? Supposing there's, even if there was a good God, right, but I'm not saying that that's the case, but supposing there was like, because we are ruled by the negative, right, but supposing there was a positive as well, we were given the free choice. We can get ourselves out of it, or could have got ourselves out of it at any time, because we do have the power really, but we've given it over. So that means we have free choice, but we are choosing to be suppressed, choosing to accept this matrix, choosing to accept all the rules, choosing to accept all the regulations, choosing to accept all the security, choosing to accept a controlled world, okay? And choosing to worship certain gods. We choose it. It's our choice. It's our free will. So no one or nothing can intervene and say, well, look, yeah, some of those human beings are making free will choices, but they don't really know where it's going and they don't really know the full picture. They're in the dark. But you see, that's the thing. That's how it keeps going, because it doesn't matter. If you make a wrong choice, you're a spiritual being, you're supposed to be able to see it. Now, we can't see it because the matrix has deceived us and because we do believe the real world around us. We do not believe the truth. We can't see it because, and it's hidden but in plain sight. They have to show it to you. The truth has to be shown because we have to be given free choice. But we are in a duality reverse world. So everything that we think is true is false, and everything we think is false is true. So this is the dilemma we're in. You can see what I'm saying. So in other words, it's like this, right? This is just myself personally, right? All the people that I've admired over my life and would have bowed down to and envied and thought they've got it all, they're more talented than me, they're more this than me, they've got the money, they've got the fame, they've got the fortune, they've got this, you know, and I'm still guilty of it because that's right, because it's been indoctrinated into us from the day we're born. We do not think freely and think, oh yes, I just am and I don't have to prove nothing. But the thing is that all these people that I would have admired, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to mention examples, and I'm not going to, because like I say, I've been more guilty of it than most people. These people, they're not bad people. I'm not saying that, but they are totally taken over. They have surrendered to the matrix and they've given over their power even more than, well, not more than the rest of us, but they've given it over for that in a way, and they're rewarded very much for it, and they're given more abilities and they're given things, but they're still not what they are. So they have to, you could say that that's right, they've given over what they really are, and they still are controlled. They still have to do things to serve the God, don't they, you know? But what I'm saying is that, you know, if I was a correct spiritual human being, as I should have been in my life, I would not have admired these people so much, you know, and I would not, in other words, I would have perhaps, a bit like this, right? Supposing I had the chance to marry, you know, like a rich millionaire that appears to have all the status and all the fame and all the glory and can open doors for me, And then I've got the choice of some nothing nobody that's out of work, but is basically a kind, good person. Who do you think I'm going to choose? And most people don't even get this choice. You see what I'm saying? But the correct choice would probably be the kind, lowly person that is at the higher spiritual level and that would perhaps really care about me, but I wouldn't make that choice probably, and most people wouldn't. And this is what I'm trying to say, is that everything is in reverse in this society and in this world, because we've all made the mistakes of going for the wrong person, the wrong decision most of our lives. And this is because we are told that, one person is better than another because they're this or they're that. And we get very influenced by that. We will often overlook lesser people that we think are lesser because they are not socially up there. They haven't got much money. They don't appear to have, they don't appear to be famous. They don't, all this sort of stuff. This is how we are, and this is how we think. And this is all part of the deception, to keep human beings under control, to keep them envious and to keep them jealous and to keep them competitive. Particularly that competitive word, that came to me the other day, to keep us competing instead of just living and accepting and not caring whether someone else has got something else that we haven't. Because this is all a trick. This is all to get us into, I think, a state to where we are basically never happy. I think about that over my life myself. I can see it, that like always comparing yourself to someone else, always thinking someone else has more, always thinking that, that we're surrounded by it. I mean, like, look at me now making a video, and I'm aware that, I'm not looking like your glamour girls and the people that make the other videos. They might tell you nothing, but you'll still watch them because they look good and because they appear to be successful. They have a lot of money and they're in your face all the time, But are they really what we should be admiring? I mean, I'm not saying you should think bad of them, but if you think that that's all there is, and you actually would probably dismiss lesser people like myself even, because we're not up there and we're not doing, we're not rich and famous and all that sort of stuff. This is the thing. But, are they going to tell you the truth? They don't even want to know the truth, because their truth is that they're successful, they've got the money, they're ruling the world, And they don't actually know that even some of them are set up. I mean, most rich and famous people, I think, are used by the entities that control everything anyway. The only difference is that they've got a great life for it. They're not going to be, they will, provided they serve, they will not be as targeted and made as negative as the rest of us and as unhappy, because that is not necessary while they're serving. When they cease to serve, who knows? I don't know, because I do not think that the gods, when I say gods, I mean God or gods with all the minions, those that control this world. I do not think that they are a different entity. They're a different entity. So they are not a human entity. So they don't actually love humans. Humans are supposed to love themselves and other humans, and they're supposed to only deal with that. They're not really supposed to deal with negative entities, and yet our whole planet is taken over by negative entities. And we are deprived access to any positive entities. They're not allowed here, and they're not allowed for intervention. And even as I've said before, even if there were, like, say, like supposing we're talking about, you're talking about technological beings that rule the planet, gods even, there might be, probably there is like an historical truth to all this, and it does involve certain entities. I haven't brought that into it. I've kept it basic, and that's probably what makes my videos sound ridiculous, because unless you actually specify and say, well, look, this is the entity, this is his name, this is where he come from, this is what they are, it makes it hard. I could do that. Maybe I will in another video. But to be honest, I know it all exists, but even I have not seen it all. So I know it from experience. But you could have like a ghost in your house, right? But you might not know who that ghost is. You know it's there, and you get the results of its actions, but you might not be able to put a name on it. You might not be able to say, oh, that's the ghost of so-and-so, or this or that. You see what I'm trying to say? I know that sounds ridiculous too, but that's the point I'm making, okay? But, you know, I check out the history and what I have now learned and been told, and this is nothing to do even with my own experience, and if it fits at all, and I say, well, it fits the whole scenario. But either way, it has to be entities that do not belong here, technological entities that did not originate here, I do not think. But they came here, came from space, you could say, if you want to look at it that way. You could say they came from space. You could say they came from another dimension. You could say they came from another realm, okay? Whatever you like. But they came, they took over, they seduced man and woman, and essentially dictated their way of thinking and their life from that point on. At another point, they interbred and so changed us genetically, okay? I must finish the video now, as you can hear, so I'm sorry. I would like to have went on longer. Good luck. Oh. Is that still going? Are you sure? 2